American Comics, Saiyan powers shock Spider-Gwen and the universe. Episode 21, John Wick's Trouble, The Blood Pledge. Throwing the robbers to the door of a nearby police station, Gwen fired a cobweb that stalked among the tall buildings. With a distance of several blocks, it took her less than 10 minutes to arrive at the high-level apartment where she lived. She climbed into the house along the window that had been reserved long ago, but she didn't make the slightest sound. He took off his headgear. Dazzling blonde hair clings to his forehead, and his sky-blue pupils are full of anger and confusion. However, the most important thing now is to take a good bath. In any case, that villain named Saiyan was right. At this moment, Gwen could already feel a smell from his battle suit. After carefully cleaning the battle suit and spraying it with deodorant perfume, Gwen finally didn't smell anything strange around him. Putting away the water, lying in the bath, the girl calmed down her mood. The life of a superhero for a few days made her gradually swell up a little bit, and after a fight with that Saiyan today, the swollen Gwen quickly wilted like a puffer fish that had been pricked by a needle. Lost too badly. Obviously, the opponent's speed and strength are far inferior to her own, Gwen admits it, but when she really fights, she is led by the nose, and she can't take advantage of it at all. It turns out that in this world, not only is she special, but she is far behind. After all, she was only a 17-year-old girl, and the blow tonight was a bit severe. After soaking for half an hour, Gwen was still in a bad mood. The habit developed over the years made Gwen subconsciously call Sun Wuming. Brooklyn, a quiet community, is full of single-family villas, covering a lot of land. This is another property in Sun Wuming, even with John Wick on good terms. But as long as he doesn't want others to know his real identity, Sun Wuming will not tell him his address. Therefore, what John Wick said about arriving at his home actually refers to a house purchased by Sun Wuming as a peach. Some mission entrustments will also be sent here, but whether you accept them depends on Sun Wuming's mood. Sun Wuming, who was scared away by Gwen's rogue style of play, flew here directly, and saw John Wick sitting at the door in disgrace. His clothes were also covered in dust. There is such a dog by my side. You came. Seeing Sun Wuming descending from the sky, John Wick froze for a moment, but regained his composure. I have seen teleportation before, and flight is no big deal. Your house was bombed. Who did it? Sun Wuming opened the door and walked in with a person and a dog. Sandino Antonio. He came here with a blood alliance and wanted me to help him kill someone, but I refused. John shrugged. Sun Wuming motioned him to take what he wanted to drink, took out orange juice from the refrigerator, and drank it down. Blood alliance? This time it's your problem, John. Sun Wuming raised his eyebrows. For the underground world controlled by the Gaucho Society, blood alliance is a solemn and sacred rule. Once the blood alliance is signed and the blood handprint is pressed, then you have to do something for the other party unconditionally. Even if you are asked to die, you must not violate it. John Wick was going too far. He clearly signed a blood alliance, but he was unwilling to abide by it. He deserved his family to be bombed. I know. John sighed, sinking deeply into the soft sofa, with a look of exhaustion on his face, but I'm tired of this life. I'm retired, and I really don't want to be involved in it anymore in their vortex. He asked me to kill Jaina, who was the ruler of the Camorra family and a member of the High Table. John. Sun Wuming looked at him and said seriously, since we have stepped into the quagmire, it will not be so easy to get out. Unless you are as strong as me. John rolled his eyes. Are you educating me or praising yourself? However, he had to admit that if he had the power of Sun Wuming, he would not have to sign a blood alliance with Santino at all, and he could resolve the matter by himself. Sun Wuming ignored his little expression and continued, if I were you, I would complete the blood alliance first, and then kill Santino. John nodded, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I came to you just to keep this little guy here for a few days, and borrow 2 gold coins by the way. As he spoke, he pulled the dog leash. It's a small matter, but I have a little suggestion here. Do you want to listen to it? A light flashed in Sun Wuming's eyes. John was startled. You say, you go to complete the blood alliance, Santino will leave it to me, and I will arrange a decent exit for him. John frowned, and said, your target is the Camorra family? The Camorra family may be more familiar to the public with another name, Mafia. It's funny to say that the whole world knows that the Mafia originated in New York, but few people know that the orthodoxy of the Mafia is actually in New York. In the 18th century, Europe set off a wave of immigration to the Americas, and the Mafia came to this uncivilized land. After hundreds of years of development, their influence here has been extremely large. Flour, color Q, and even munitions all have their active presence. He is also a member of the 12 seats of the Gaucho Society, and Santino Antonio is the younger brother of the ruler of the Camorra family. His sister, Jaina, is the target of John's mission this time. Santino's purpose is self-evident, to kill his sister to usurp the throne, and to control such a huge interest group by himself. That's right, I don't want to be a laborer for the rest of my life. But the old man Winston has never given me information about the holder of the high table seat. I didn't expect the idiot Santino to help me. Sun Wuming nodded with a smile. John was silent for a moment, then held out his hand. Make a deal. Episode 22. Gwen confides that bad people will always live more comfortably than good people. Seeing that John agreed, Sun Wuming also smiled. Sun Wuming's enthusiasm for the high table is not due to his desire for power. In fact, he was just doing it to save trouble. In the United States, in New York, many times, the underground world is more useful than the white ones. As for the high table, the dark power mastered in New York is so strong that it is no exaggeration to say that Gene is now a younger brother in the eyes of the high table. Don't those congressmen and city officials know about this killer organization that is so arrogant that it has opened its bases in the city center? They know it, but no one is willing to take care of it, because darkness is also a part of the city. If you live in the secular world, you can't just rely on your fists to speak. The consequence of doing that can only be a heresy in people's eyes. Others' opinions Sun Wuming doesn't matter, but you can't become a loner with Gwen. The reason why people are human is because they live in a society full of various interpersonal relationships. Therefore, if you want to live a comfortable and high-quality life in the future, you need to have a background and influence. Otherwise, he's just a punk who can fight. Sun Wuming didn't want much, just to bring the high table's influence in New York under his command, to provide funds for his salty fish life and to deal with some small things. He didn't bother to care about other places. And the reason why John Wick agreed was simple. Killing a member of the high table will definitely cause trouble. At least that bastard Santino must want to use his head to appease the rest of the family. I'll take the dog away first, and put the gold coins in the kitchen drawer. When you solve Jaina, give me a call. After the matter was finished, Sun Wuming was also ready to withdraw. Okay, I'm going to Italy tomorrow. I wish your plan goes well. John nodded and got up to see him off. He took the leash from John's hand and flew into the distance directly under the terrified eyes of the dog. In the silent night, the shrill dog barking came from the sky, making many people who were enjoying the nightlife think they were hallucinating. Back home, Sun Wuming was just about to take a shower and go to bed when he heard his cell phone ringing in the bedroom. After seeing Gwen's name, his heart tightened suddenly. Why did Gwen call him so late? Did he see his identity? Hello? Gwen, are you still up so late? Before he had time to think about it, Sun Wuming forced himself to speak calmly after he got on the phone. Wuming? Are you asleep? Gwen's weak voice came from the microphone. Not yet, I'm just going to take a shower, and you know my schedule, it's impossible to sleep at this point. What's the matter? Sun Wuming became a little more normal, and it was clear from his tone that he was worrying too much just now. Gwen, it's nothing, I just feel a little irritable suddenly, and I want to talk to you. After the call was connected, Gwen suddenly realized that even if she called Wuming, she couldn't tell the matter. Especially after knowing that Wuming is not interested in what Spider-Woman did, she is ready to keep this secret deep in her heart. But now that it's connected, Gwen can't say nothing, so Gwen can only say, "Can I ask you a question? What's wrong with you today? You speak so politely." Sun Wuming pretended to be strange. Maybe it's because it's already 12 o'clock. As you said, it's the time for Wan Yun. Gwen was startled, and realized that she was a little too strange, and quickly returned to her usual tone. You said, if something changes in me, will you still be the same as before? Then are you still Gwen? Sun Wuming asked back. Definitely, I will always be Gwen Stacy. Gwen replied without thinking. It's over. Sun Wuming said in a relaxed tone, it's normal for people to change, but as long as you are Gwen and your feelings for me have not changed, then nothing can affect you and me. Really? After hearing Sun Wuming's attitude, a big smile bloomed on Gwen's face under the blanket. Definitely is true, lie to you what to do. But there is one thing I need to refute you. What? Gwen asked curiously. You can't always be Gwen Stacy, because when you get married your last name will change. Like, Gwen Sun? Beep beep. Hearing the sound of the phone hanging up, Sun Wuming smiled, dropped the phone and went to take a shower. He understood why Gwen became like this. In fact, it was all caused by him. There is still time for him to gradually change Gwen's behavior. The superhero Gwen who is too holy is not what Sun Wuming wants to see. Superhero is a kind of thankless existence. Caring about the opinions of the public, caring about the public opinion of the people, and being held back by those disgusting politicians all the time. Most importantly, there will be endless troubles. Bad people always live more comfortably than good people, and people with a lower bottom line tend to live a happier life than those with a higher bottom line. What Sun Wuming has to do now is to slowly lower Gwen's moral bottom line. Ahem, it sounds evil, but it's really for her own good. And the high-level apartment a few streets away. After hanging up the phone, Gwen blushed and her heart beat faster. What Gwen Sun? Is Wuming confessing his love to her? No, this is too informal. There must be a grand ceremony. That's not right. Wuming hates these fancy superficial skills, but at least I have to say it to my face before I agree. What's going on the phone? But, Gwen Sun? Sounds good too. What should the next child be called? Is it better to have a boy or a girl? With that simple sentence, the girl has fallen into reverie, and her thoughts are drifting to the warm picture of both sons and daughters decades later. Episode 23. Kamapaichi Gong, First Bloom. Sun Wuming's consolation is the best medicine for Gwen. Let her let go of the burden in her heart. A person's inner strength not only comes from his own original strength, but also the support of his family and relatives and friends is an important part of it. At least, Sun Wuming's statement is much more important to Gwen than the support of her parents. With a relieved mentality, Gwen fell asleep beautifully. The day passed quickly. Because it was the weekend, Gwen came to Sun Wuming's home in the morning to spend the morning with him. After lunch, I left under the pretext of going to Osborne for an industrial internship. But feeling Gwen's jumping up and down, Sun Wuming naturally knew what she was going to do. As for himself, he took John's dog out for a walk. Came to the Continental Hotel. Sharon, I want to see Winston. At the front desk, Sun Wuming, who has changed his appearance, cut to the chase. Sharon was taken aback for a moment, but he immediately contacted his boss and got a reply soon. Sir, Mr. Winston is in the office, you may go over now. Okay. Sun Wuming nodded, led the dog and left. There is only one huge amount of office on the top floor of the hotel. Winston looked at Sun Wuming in front of him and asked softly, then Mr. Tao bye-bye, is there anything I can do for you? Definitely, Winston, you know about John. Winston nodded slightly. Legendary killer John Wick's house was bombed, and he, a local snake, naturally wanted to figure out what happened. Remember what you promised me last time. Sun Wuming watched the dog pee on the stall worth hundreds of thousands of USD, and the corner of his mouth twitched. After taking over the task of Brother Vladimir, Winston had promised him some information about the high table seat holders once he had completed the task. Now relying on John, he is no longer needed. He came this time to force Winston to make a statement. Then, Winston, it's up to you to make a choice. Do you continue to stand on Santino's side, or take the Continental Hotel in New York into your hands? Winston was silent. After working at the Continental Hotel in New York for so many years, he definitely wanted to take full control of the hotel. But the Camorra family's seat corresponds to the North American region, so on the surface, he is in charge of the hotel, but in fact, he is controlled by others everywhere. Especially after that lunatic Santino came to power, the two had some grievances, and his life will definitely be more difficult. Winston looked directly into Sun Wuming's eyes. Can I trust you? You have no choice, Winston, unless you want to be kicked out and retire. Sun Wuming did not back down. After a long time, Winston sighed. Okay, you're right. What do I need to do? I don't need anything. When the time comes to get Santino's fingerprints, just leave as soon as possible. Winston was taken aback. In the middle of the night, at the moment Italian has already arrived in the wee hours of the morning. With a hint of regret, John killed the leader of the mafia and Jaina, who had a dewy relationship with him. As expected, after he completed his mission, he was met by someone sent by Santino to silence him. After a hard fight, he finally returned to the safe area of the Roman Continental Hotel. After a brief treatment of the wound, John called Sun Wuming. It's over. Okay, I can start here. Sun Wuming rubbed the dog's head and raised his glass to Winston, who was drinking coffee. Then it's your turn. I see. Winston got up, straightened his suit, and clapped his hands. Two strong men came in and stood behind him. Before going out, Winston still couldn't help asking, what exactly do you want to do? The Camorra family is not comparable to the Vladimir brothers. You'll know when the time comes. Hurry up and don't waste my time. Remember to hurry up. It's not my fault for being accidentally injured. Sun Wuming yawned. It was already very late. He had to hurry up and go back to sleep. There is still class tomorrow, and if he gets up late, Gwen will blame him again. Seeing his gesture, Winston had no choice but to shake his head and leave the Continental Hotel. Anyway, he didn't do anything out of line. Even if he failed, he couldn't be held accountable. The old fox is very good at counting. Along the Hudson River, the estate of the Camorra family is also located here. At the moment, Santino was cleaning the hands of his sister's line. Corpses could be seen everywhere in the manor, and blood pooled on the ground to form a stream. Winston's expression remained unchanged. He stepped over one corpse after another, and found the vigorous Santino. He took out a notebook and flipped through a few pages, which contained the Blood Alliance record signed between him and John Wick. Sir, the Blood Alliance has been completed. Please press your fingerprint to terminate the contract. Winston's businesslike attitude made Santino very unhappy. According to the rule, at the moment he was the speaker of the Camorra family, so he naturally became the controller of the high table seat. Winston is just a wage earner, so why not please him? Pressing his handprint with a cold face, Santino said, I want to issue a warrant for John Wick, 7 million. Definitely yes, please do as you please. Winston kept Sun Wuming's instructions in mind, and after seeing the fingerprints, he turned around and left without any hesitation. Hiss, 7 million. Is John so valuable? On a hill not far away, Sun Wuming heard the conversation between the two, and also gasped. What should I do if my heart is moved? Sun Wuming shook his head. Forget it, 7 million, just a small amount of money. Through the night, he could already see Winston and his party walking out of the manor. So, Sun Wuming tilted his neck, folded his hands on his waist, gathered them into a calyx shape, and his arm muscles were raised high. In the next second, dazzling astigmatism appeared in the dark night. Kamehame. Ha! The blue qigong wave with tail flames rushed to the sky like a meteor, drew a strange arc and then fell, The target was the manor of the Camorra family. Boom! The sky-piercing explosion sounded like thunder, and the dazzling light made this area as bright as day. Sun Wuming looked at his masterpiece and nodded in satisfaction. Well, this wave is really big. Episode 24. Nick Fury's coping. Hydra IQ Online. After one shot, Sun Wuming felt refreshed. As a Saiyan with the surname of Sun, what could be better than a Camappai Qigong? If there is, it can only be 2 rounds. Sun Wuming finally exercised his muscles and was in a good mood. This is the first time that Camappai Qigong has appeared in this world. It is really overkill to kill a mafia family. But there is no way. Who made Sun Wuming feel a little suffocated? During this period of time, either the big bosses he couldn't beat, or the little ones who were too lazy to fight, so they could only shoot mosquitoes with cannons. Without looking back at the explosion, Sun Wuming turned and walked away. With the chi possessed by those people in the manor, none of them could survive. What, you ask, will it hurt innocent people? Come on, it's all about the mafia. There are no innocent people. Even if there is, isn't it doing a good deed by sending them to see God in advance? Sun Wuming has no psychological burden. Oh, God. Winston, who hadn't left too far, stood blankly in front of the car, looking at the manor that had been turned into ruins. His legs softened, and he almost knelt down. Tao Bai Bai used this method to solve the Camorra family? Is he a god? Looking at the hillside, this terrifying energy wave is emitted from there, but at the moment, there is no one on the hillside. Winston was sure it was definitely Sun Wuming's work. For a moment, his worldview was almost overturned. Boss, what should we do now? A bodyguard asked, his voice trembling. Call. Forcibly regaining his composure, Winston ordered, go back immediately and contact the High Table. Washington, Homeland Strategic Defense Offensive and Logistics Agency Headquarters. 3 Curved Wing Building. The at the moment building is already in chaos. Just now, New York has detected energy fluctuations at an ultra-high energy level, which are fleeting, and the location of the outbreak was a well-known rich area by the Hudson River. Have you checked it out? Standing on the podium, Nick Fury looked serious, looking at the various data on the screen. Although he couldn't understand it, this posture at least made the people below dare not be lazy. Beside him, the deputy Maria Hill reported with the report just obtained. The place where the energy erupted was the Mafia Camorra family. Our people have already rushed there, but according to satellite observations, there is no longer any life in it. In addition, the possibility of long-range bombing by missile weapons has been ruled out, and the radar has not detected any signs of missile launches. Nick Fury remained silent. He didn't care who died, he just wanted to know what kind of weapon could burst out such a large amount of energy in an instant. Could it be that Stark has developed some black technology? Can you buy some over here? Nick Fury was thinking about how to deceive himself more from the Security Council next time, and his subordinates had already used nearby surveillance and satellites to restore the scene that happened at that time. Winston, director of the Continental Hotel New York, seeing the people walking out of the manor in the video, Hill immediately revealed the information. In the next second, a blue light bloomed from the nearby hill, and the Qigong bullet with its tail fell on the Camorra family's manor. Nick Fury shrank his pupils and shouted, "Enlarge the view of the mountain." Quick! The technicians immediately followed suit, but it was a pity that Sun Wuming's face and body were completely covered by the flames, and he couldn't see clearly at all, and he could barely distinguish his movements. This attack was sent by a person? A power user? Hill was taken aback. There have always been records about superpowers in this world, either mutant, or the name superpower. From Captain America, to Luke Cage, who is active in Hell's Kitchen, and Spider-Woman, they can all be classified as superpowers. But like this person on the screen, who launched an attack more terrifying than a missile with his bare hands, he never appeared. Hill, adjust the information of this intelligence to level 9, and let Phil Coulson do his best to find this person. Nick Fury said in a deep voice. His eyes were extremely deep. This beam of energy reminded him of that woman more than 10 years ago. Although the two are incomparable in terms of destructive power, they are dangerous enough for the current Earth. Hill nodded. Understood. I'm going to find Phil Coulson agent now. As soon as Winston left, the mysterious figure behind him shot and destroyed the Camorra family, saying that they had no contact with anyone. Nick Fury adjusted the secrecy level of this incident to level 9, and Pierce over there got the news. After watching it, Pierce is far more cautious than Nick Fury. Rumlow, fully cooperate with Fury's work to find this person. But even if you find him, you must be polite and don't provoke him. Try not to provoke him. If Fury orders something stupid, get out immediately. Yes, boss. Rumlow will not ask why, but will faithfully carry out Pierce's orders. The more Pierce looked at the information, the more frightened he became. He can play Nick Fury for such a long time, and let the other party work hard to strengthen the snake shield for him. He is definitely not as stupid as he showed in the last Captain America, the Winter Soldier. On the contrary, Pierce's IQ is absolutely on the line. In his opinion, the most terrifying thing about Sun Wuming is not the energy cannon that destroyed the Camorra manor. It's the last ability to disappear out of thin air. Imagine that your enemies are elusive, appear suddenly, bombard your lair, and then disappear suddenly. He has a sick mind to provoke such an enemy. He is HYDRA, not a fool. Episode 25. History. Stark finally got shot. Dr. Lizard was born. Okay, sir, I will definitely convey your will to the high table. Winston changed from his calm and gentle demeanor in the past. Even if the other side couldn't see him, he still answered the phone standing up, nodding and bowing from time to time. Back at the Continental Hotel, he called Sun Wuming and asked for his opinion. All the top members of the Camorra family were dead, and Winston thought that Sun Wuming would take the vacated seat for himself. But to his surprise, Sun Wuming actually wanted to push him into that position, and he took control behind the scenes. When a puppet, or be a puppet of this great god, he was so willing. After carefully understanding Sun Wuming's request, Winston waited respectfully for the other person to hang up the phone, then straightened his back and walked into the secret door with his head held high. There, all the seat holders of the high table were waiting for him to hold a video conference. In the dimly lit room, more than a dozen holographic projections were silent. Organizations that can hold seats at the high table are the best gangsters in the world. The combination of 12 families and a few special elders form the world's largest killer organization, and just now, with one of the 12 seats, the senior management of the oldest mafia family, the Camorra, was completely wiped out. Naturally, there was a shock. That's why this group of Dark World bosses approached Winston immediately regardless of the time difference. Boom. The door was pushed open, and Winston walked in with his head held high. Winston, we need an explanation of what happened there. A middle-aged man with a white cloth on his head spoke first, and the others all looked at Winston. They are all bigwigs who have held high positions for a long time. In the past, Winston would not have dared to look at these people one by one. But now, it's all rubbish. Elder, wait a moment, there is a video that I think you can watch. As he spoke, Winston played the video recorded by the driving recorder on the car. After reading it, these elders became even more silent. Compared with the video obtained by S.H.I.E.L.D, the video taken by the driving recorder is more blurred, but the whole process can be clearly seen. You mean, that person is Tao Bai? No, you should call him Saiyan Lord. Saiyan. The elder and other members of the high table were silent. Looking at the smiling Winston, no one spoke for a while. What do you say? Do you want revenge? Don't be kidding. No matter how powerful the people here are, they are still in the category of ordinary people. The more younger brothers, the more resources in hand. But in the face of such an extraordinary person, no matter how many people there are, they are all cannon fodder. Many high table elders were even rejoicing that it was not him who offended this Saiyan, His Excellency, but that idiot, Santino. There is no way to spend so much time. As the elder with the highest status, he finally spoke. Since the Camorra family can no longer afford the high table seat, then this position should be taken by Mr. Saiyan. Winston was still smiling. Sorry, that gentleman is busy, and he has no interest in this position. Seeing Winston's confident smile, the elder understood everything. Aha. On Monday, Sun Wuming, who was dragged to school by Gwen, slumped on the table weakly. After all, he didn't go to bed early last night. Winston got his wish and became a member of the high table. In order to show his sincerity, other families in the North American killer industry expressed that they would not interfere. In this way, his sphere of influence is even larger than that of the original mafia. In order to thank Sun Wuming for his support, the first thing Winston did after taking office was to clean up the property of the Camorra family and put it all under the name of Sun Wuming. He knows what money can be touched and what money cannot be touched. With Sun Wuming behind him, a mere round table seat is definitely not the end. However, Sun Wuming didn't bother to pay attention to these things. The main reason for his insomnia was that after using Kamapai Qigong for the first time, his understanding of Qi has improved. I was practicing last night. It was not until dawn that he barely slept for a while, and then was woken up by Gwen again. Opening the web page with his mobile phone, Sun Wuming browsed today's news. The vision by the Hudson River last night was seen by many people, and the official explanation is also very official. A gas explosion, caused by a gas leak. At one point, Sun Wuming suspected that he had traveled to Fuyuki City. Skip this one, nothing to see. Next. Is this year's Peace Prize going to be awarded? Sun Wuming regained his spirit immediately. Take a closer look, it didn't run away. That damn big dog is finally going to be shot in the Middle East. Without the slightest hesitation, Sun Wuming directly cleared all Stark Industrial stocks in hand. More than 10 million stocks were all sold out. In normal times, even high-quality assets such as Stark Industries would fluctuate. But recently, the news that Stark is about to win an award has spread, and his invention of the Jericho long-range missile has also been favored by the military. Therefore, as soon as Sun Wuming stock appeared on the market, it was sold out, and the valuation was raised a bit. But Sun Wuming doesn't care at all. He is now a capitalist. Every time the killer of the Continental Hotel takes an order, he will get a commission. The killers in North America are all making money for him, so naturally, they look down on such small profits. What makes you so happy? Seeing Sun Wuming smile, Gwen asked curiously. The stock has made money, let's go. I will treat you to a big meal tonight. Holding Gwen's shoulders, Sun Wuming pulled her and walked out of the school. Osborne Industries. Norman Osborne's assistant, Fellman, stood in front of Dr. Connors with a haughty expression. Dr. Connors, Mr. Norman's patience has been exhausted. You have consumed a lot of funds of the group, but you can't bring any returns. Please give me some more time. The gene repair medicine has been preliminarily completed, and now only the final test is needed. Then do live experiments. Fairman interrupted Connor's next words. There are so many homeless people, drug addicts, and even retired veterans on the streets of New York. Fairman smiled contemptuously. They should be proud to be able to participate in such a great project. You can't do this. Dr. Connors was trembling with excitement. In vivo experiments are prohibited, and the original drug is not stable enough. We experimented on mice, and they became very manic. With Peter's help, he can completely complete the gene repair potion immediately. Why can't he be given some more time? It's a pity that Fairman couldn't stand listening anymore and issued an ultimatum. Dr. Connors, all of these are the assets of Osborne Industries and belong to Mr. Norman. Now, we just want to get them back. This is a notice, not a request. Curtis Connors, as the assistant to the president, I announce that you have been fired. After finishing speaking, Fairman chuckled lightly, turned around and left. The door was closed with a bang, leaving only Dr. Connors clutching his head in pain. After a long time, he walked to the test bench and injected a tube of green liquid into his body, tremblingly. Episode 26. The Green Monster, The Battle on the Brooklyn Bridge. Then I'll go first, Wuming. After dinner, Gwen didn't ask Wuming to take her home, but said goodbye directly at the door of the hotel. With her current skills, if robbers really appeared, it would be considered bad luck for them. Mr. George came back unexpectedly early today. Seeing that her daughter didn't come home until almost 8 o'clock, she snorted coldly. Going to eat with that brat again, Dad? Gwen said dissatisfiedly. Wuming made a lot of money today. It's reasonable for the two of us to celebrate. How much money does a high school student make? Mr. George was a little hurt. The baby girl went so far as to argue with another man. A few million is not a small amount. Gwen said with some pride. What? George was taken aback. How did that kid make money? Isn't he breaking the law? His annual salary is less than $100,000. Sun Wuming, a high school student, can actually earn millions? Thinking of this, George's face suddenly became serious. After all, no matter which country you are in, the most profitable business is written into the code. It can be said that the more earned, the harsher the sentence. Definitely not. Wuming bought a lot of shares in Stark Industries and sold them all today. Gwen said with a smile. Just kidding, if it was really against the law, she wouldn't tell her father. George's face softened a lot. Stocks are indeed one of the few opportunities for ordinary people to get rich. That's about the same. I didn't expect that kid to have this ability. I'm going to do my homework first. After finishing dinner as quickly as possible, Gwen got into the bedroom and closed the door. Then, he took out his battle suit from his school bag and modified it. The recent growth rate is a bit fast, and the originally close-fitting battle suit feels a little constricted when worn on the body, and the chest feels tight. And George in the living room saw his daughter finished eating, and didn't even want to stay in the living room for a second. I thought it was the reason why I suspected Sun Wuming's crime just now, which made her angry. Mr. George also felt that he was a bit too much, thinking that others committed crimes for no reason, which was originally a kind of arrogance. Gwen. Honey, I think I should apologize to you and Wuming for the mistake I made just now. Just as George was thinking about his lines, he was interrupted by a hasty bell. It's me, George. Boss. There has been a major accident on the Brooklyn Bridge. George's face sank. What's going on? On the other end of the phone, the police officer quickly said, a lizard. A human-shaped lizard is wreaking havoc. Understood, I'll come right over. After hanging up the phone, George briefly explained the situation to Helen, changed into his police uniform and left under his wife's worried eyes. In the house, with his extraordinary hearing, Gwen also heard the whole story clearly. Without thinking too much, Gwen took off all the clothes on her body and took out 3 band-aids, 2 small ones on top and 1 big. Quickly put on the spider battle suit, she opened the window and got out gently, like a spider, without making any sound. With adsorbent on the wall of the 20-story building with both hands, Gwen let out a soft breath. Spider-Woman, move. Brooklyn Bridge. At the moment, this important transportation hub connecting Brooklyn and Manhattan is in a mess. The bridge was completely blocked, provoking people's irritable nerves. At this moment, a lizard monster jumped out of nowhere and wrecked everywhere. Gunshots, wailing, screaming, and roaring filled the entire bridge. The nearby police arrived quickly, and they were also petrified when they saw the lizard man. But luckily, they haven't forgotten their duty. Using cars as cover, a large number of policemen raised their pistols and fired wildly, and even many people joined the shooting team. Needless to say, as expected of America, the per capita wuda is abundant. The bullet hit the lizardman's body, causing him to scream like a beast, and he could still see little green blood spattering out. But what is frightening is that these wounds are healing at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his skin is becoming harder and harder. Later, the bullets fired by the pistol hit him, and they could no longer cause much damage. What kind of monster is this? Some policemen couldn't help shouting that what they usually faced were farm tools and the like, and they never imagined that such inhuman existence would appear in this world. Shut up, shoot. George, who came behind, shouted and ordered to his deputy, "Apply for National Guard air power support." Roar. The lizard man roared angrily, and with a casual mention, he lifted a large off-road vehicle and smashed it in the direction of the police. "Get out of the way." Without George's reminder, the policeman ran to the back, escaped a certain distance, and continued to shoot. Now their task is to hold this monster and absolutely not let him enter the urban area. Once he was allowed to rush into the residential area, the casualties would be immeasurable. Facing the hail of bullets, the lizard man leaped tens of meters high and arrived in front of the police phalanx. With a random sweep of the tail, several policemen vomited blood and flew backwards. Mr. George stood slightly back and escaped, by luck. In the next few attacks, he also relied on his agility to dodge, but the retreat has become less and less. Roar. The lizard man raised a car again and threw it at George. Even if the police officers shot wildly, they couldn't stop his movements. Whoosh. At this time, the white cobweb wrapped around the car, and as soon as the lizard man loosened his hand, he saw the car being pulled up, and then slammed into him fiercely. The huge amounts of impact directly sent him flying tens of meters. "Looks like you need Spider-Woman's help, Mr. Chief." With the help of the built-in voice changer in the battle suit, Gwen was not worried about being discovered by Mr. George, and teased in a relaxed tone. The body felt refreshed for a while. Snort. "Smelly dad. Isn't it said that the appearance of Spider-Woman is a disaster for this city? A disaster saved your life today." While proud, Gwen felt lingering fear at the same time. If her speed was a step slower, it would be self-evident what happened just now. Thinking of this, Gwen looked at the lizard man who hadn't recovered yet, and his eyes became sharp. And at the top of the bridge, no one noticed that a man in a black practice suit was sitting there watching a play with his legs dangling and a smile on his face. Episode 27. Spider-Woman vs. Dr. Lizard. Sun Wuming appears. Sun Wuming came earlier than Mr. George and Gwen. He just never made a move. Amidst the Chi surrounded by ordinary people, a Chi hundreds of times larger than ordinary people suddenly appeared, naturally shining like a big light bulb in the dark. When he came to the bridge, Sun Wuming saw such an ugly thing rushing forward. She didn't bother to care. But if Gwen hadn't arrived in time just now, he would definitely have rescued Mr. George, and he would be his future father-in-law anyway. But looking at it now, there is no need for him to make a move. Just let the lizard man be Gwen's opponent. This should be Gwen's first serious battle. On the bridge, Mr. George's face at the moment is particularly exciting. 3 points of rejoicing, 3 points of astonishment, 3 points of shame, and 1 point of stiffness. The old pie chart. Not long ago, he criticized the existence of Spider-Woman in the newspapers for adding chaos to the police and wasting a lot of police force to wipe her ass. But who would have thought that within half a month, he would be rescued by Spider-Woman? If there were cracks in the ground at the moment, Mr. George would probably choose to crawl in to cool down for a while. Sun Wuming looked at the future father-in-law whose face was like a pallet, and his hand suddenly felt itchy. If so, he jumped down to take off Gwen's hood now. After seeing the true face of Spider-Woman clearly, will Mr. George shoot himself excitedly? No, if you really want to do this, your daughter-in-law will definitely be gone. Sun Wuming shook his head, quickly put away his devilish thoughts, and continued watching the play. With the enemy at hand, George chose to temporarily forget what he had said against Spider-Woman, and prepared to work together to contain the lizard men until the arrival of heavy fire support. "Just watch it. Leave this guy to me to deal with." Gwen was succinct, and after leaving a word, he rushed up with Cobweb. Parents are always the ones who are most familiar with their children. Even with a voice changer, Gwen is afraid that George will find out something after a long time. After the lizard man saw Gwen's movements, his small eyes showed fierceness again. The two sides fought together, shocking the people around them. Both are non-human existences, both in strength and speed are like monsters. Sun Wuming was also carefully observing Gwen's fighting style. Compared to the lizard man, Gwen's strength is undoubtedly weaker, but she is petite and agile, and she is assisted by Cobweb. Instead, they fought back and forth. But perhaps because of the newspaper's criticism of her wanton destruction of other people's property, Gwen was a little restrained, looking tired of defense. The countless vehicles around have become the lizardman's best weapon. Throw them at Gwen one by one. "Hey, Mr. Lizard. Fight, fight, don't damage other people's property. Do you know how hard it is to pay off a car loan?" Gwen warned with some embarrassment, and constantly picked up the vehicle and gently put it on the ground. What responded to him was the lizardman's roar that almost lost his mind. "Spider-Woman, don't be afraid. We bought insurance. Smash my car. Then I can get a new one." Hiding behind the police, a car owner yelled vigorously, and Gwen was taken aback when he heard it. "Yes, isn't this insurance? Just let those insurance companies pay out." Immediately, he lost his scruples, swung his delicate fist, and directly knocked the car thrown by the lizard man into the air. Then a beautiful whip kick hit the lizardman's face, kicking out 2 teeth, directly. She is weaker than the lizard man, but Gwen's current strength has already exceeded 10 tons, with about 15 tons, and still hit hard. After being hit on the face with 15 tons of force, only 2 teeth fell out. Lizardman's skin is really thick. However, Gwen also made a mistake, that is, hitting someone is not a slap in the face, let alone a kick. The lizardman's anger became more vigorous, he roared and swung his tail, his strong and powerful claws scratched wildly, and when he was caught in the car, he directly split a big hole. Gwen dodges lightly, finding the opportunity to get behind the lizard man, grabs his tail, and throws it hard, hitting the pillar of the steel bridge heavily. It's disgusting. I'd rather die if I got bitten by a lizard and it turned out like this. Gwen looked at the slime on the battlesuit with disgust and muttered softly. She could see that the lizard man was also transformed from a human into this way, and she naturally thought of it to herself. Gwen couldn't help but rejoice that she didn't turn into such a beastly body, otherwise how would she face Wuming and her family? There was the sound of propellers in the sky, and Mr. George breathed a sigh of relief. The backup he had called for was finally arriving. Gwen also kept shooting the cobweb, trying to tie the lizard man firmly to the steel frame, but in the next second, he raised his head inadvertently. Gwen froze. The searchlight of the helicopter turned on, and a black-haired man stood quietly on the top of the steel frame, looking at her playfully. Saiyan, see you again, Miss Spider, good evening. Sun Wuming floated down and landed beside Gwen. The distance between the two was very close. It's not nice to see you at all. Gwen gritted her teeth. Seeing this hateful man, she remembered the scene of being teased that day. I'm not the protagonist today, your prey is about to escape. Sun Wuming pursed his lips. Gwen quickly raised his head and turned his gaze, looking in the direction of the lizard man. As soon as she spoke to Sun Wuming, the lizard man broke free from the cobweb shackles and jumped into Hanoi. It's all your fault. Gwen was almost mad. Why did nothing good happen when I met this guy? If I didn't suddenly see him distracted, this lizard man would definitely not be able to escape. Sun Wuming spread his hands innocently. I had a great time watching the show, but you insisted on saying hello to me. Can this be my fault? Women are really unreasonable creatures. Are you in your menstrual period? Gwen shrieked like a kitten. Shut up. Really got Sun Wuming right. She's really on her period. Sun Wuming raised his hand to signal the avatar. Okay, since you don't want to chat with me, see you next time. After speaking, he rose into the air under the astonished eyes of the people around him. You can't escape this time. Gwen also shot the cobweb, using the bridge as a leverage point to catch up. The two disappeared from the scene one after the other. Episode 28. Wuming, is that you? Boss, what should we do? A police officer is in trouble and doesn't know what to do. Lizard Man fled because of this sudden appearance, and Spider-Man also chased after him. The two wanted criminals both disappeared, leaving only a mess. George took a deep breath and began to order his men. Clean up the scene, collect the blood that the lizard man just spilled, and go to see if the people's mobile phones have the video just now. Copy the picture of the last man in black and search for his information. Yes, the police officers got the order and acted quickly. The ambulance that arrived later also took away the injured people and the police. Mr. George looked at the deep river bottom with mixed feelings in his heart. What is wrong with this world? Why is it suddenly so strange? First Spider-Woman, then this lizard monster. Finally, a flying Superman popped out. Listening to Spider-Woman's tone, what kind of Saiyan is it called? The two seem to know each other and have enmity. Facing such an existence, how should an ordinary person like him maintain the safety of the city? Sighing, Mr. George regained his composure, took out his mobile phone, and called Helen to report that he was safe. At the same time, the news of the appearance of the Saiyan quickly spread to the desks of interested forces. Whoosh! Whoosh! The cobweb was launched constantly, and Gwen strenuously wandered among the skyscrapers, stretching her perfect body to the limit. She just wanted to catch up with the figure of flight ahead, but Gwen's speed was always a bit slower, and she knew in her heart that it was the other party's intention to hang on. Glancing at the girl behind him, Sun Wuming, who was afraid that she was tired from wandering around, landed in an alley intimately. This is very similar to the alley where the two met for the first time. The only difference is that there is no trash can here. May I ask Miss Spider what she wants to do and why she keeps following me? I want to fight you again. Gwen said firmly, just for this? That's right. After being educated last time, Gwen was not idle, and often watched some fighting technique videos during this time. Coupled with her ingenuity and a body full of ability, her fighting skills will definitely be greatly improved. To catch up with Sun Wuming today is to avenge the shame. Kick each other's ass hard and go. Sun Wuming was overjoyed, as if he could already see Gwen's unyielding and stubborn eyes through the mask. It's okay if I agree, but you have to answer a few questions for me. Biting her lips, Gwen nodded after hesitation for a moment. You ask. I have the right to refuse if it involves privacy. Don't worry, it's not a gentleman's job to seek out a lady's secret. Sun Wuming waved his hand and asked the first question. When you glued the building with cobweb, did you ever think about what to do if the wall skin is pulled off by you? What the hell question? Gwen yelled frantically in her heart. A villain in Sun Wuming's current image has appeared, crazily pricking with needles. Is this a question people can ask? I have such a cool way of moving, but you worry about that damn wall. But after agreeing to Sun Wuming, Gwen couldn't avoid it. This question is not about privacy. I can only answer honestly, occasionally there will be some small problems, but I can sense something wrong through cobweb, so I will change my eyes. That's it. Sun Wuming nodded knowingly. He was afraid that one day Gwen was halfway through swinging, but the wall peeled off and fell straight down. Seems to be thanks to spider telepathy. Then, he continued to ask, the reason why you are active in New York is because there are so many tall buildings in New York that you can fly. If you change to another town, you can only use running? Gwen took a deep breath, and a picture had already appeared in her mind. On a rural road without skyscrapers, she ran around with long legs to enforce justice. Well, there is no help. Die. The anger gauge immediately exploded, and Gwen didn't answer Sun Wuming's stupid question, and rushed forward. It's too immoral. You clearly promised me. Sun Wuming shook his head regretfully, reaching out to pat Gwen's flying kick away. Fortunately, this time it's not like the last time we met. We were at a disadvantage with just one move. Gwen is very aware of her strengths, which are speed and reaction. She moves and changes constantly, and has various types of fighting techniques at her fingertips. Combined with her flexible body, the offensive is picturesque. Sun Wuming also showed some energy. After all, it is not so easy to fight Spider-Gwen with the physical fitness of ordinary people. By posing in the Guisian Liuchi gesture, the physical ability is suppressed, but it does not mean that Sun Wuming's observation ability is reduced. Under the left and right frames, Gwen's attacks were blocked all the time, and each time, they blocked the weak point of the opponent's strength. The horizontal elbow knocked back Gwen's fist, and Sun Wuming stepped forward, turning his palm into a claw, and directly attacked the door. Seeing someone attacking their eyes, almost everyone who has no fighting experience will panic. Although he has learned a lot of tricks, Gwen is still a rookie at heart, and subconsciously took 2 steps back. This retreat gave up the initiative to attack. Facing a series of attacks from Sun Wuming, Gwen realized just how reckless and disorderly his attack was. Boom! Gwen's body was pressed against the wall, her throat already locked by Sun Wuming. Relying on the difference in strength, she could easily break free, but Gwen didn't do that, because she knew she had lost again. Miss Spider has made a lot of progress. If she is a little bit stronger, I will be in trouble. A pleasant smile appeared on Sun Wuming's face. There are so few opportunities to bully Gwen like this. No, how can this be bullying? It is obviously helping the girl improve her fighting skills. Sun Wuming moved away the right hand that locked his throat, and slowly backed away, but he didn't turn around, so as not to be attacked by this girl. However, Gwen sensed something was wrong. This person was very strong, and he had many chances to strike hard, but they all went to the limit, even just to scare her, without any physical contact. It's like a dedicated fighting instructor. Do the two know each other? Looking up suspiciously, Gwen saw an extremely familiar gaze from the unfamiliar face. Could it be? An incredible idea popped up in Gwen's mind, and he muttered to himself. Wuming? Episode 29. Some like to cover their mouths and change their appearance, but they will come out of their eyes. Fuck. The body that was about to leave suddenly froze. Sun Wuming heard her whisper, and instantly realized that he might have been exposed. That's right, how can an enemy give in so much? I have to run quickly. But his changes naturally couldn't escape Gwen's induction. She became more certain of her thoughts. Wuming, is it you? What Wuming? Miss Spider, did you recognize the wrong person? Could it be your friend? Sun Wuming pretended to be a threat. Say your real name. Isn't Miss Spider afraid of revealing her true identity? Gwen smiled, and under Sun Wuming's astonished gaze, she took off her headgear, stretched out her battle suit, and took out her phone from a towering place. In front of Sun Wuming, a phone call was broadcast. There was no connection for a long time. Sun Wuming, you can't sleep at this time. As long as you have your phone by your side, you will never dare not answer my call. The only explanation is that you left your phone at home. Do you still want to pretend? Do you want us to go home together and have a look? This time, it was Gwen's turn to sneer. 10 minutes later, Sun Wuming came home. The living room was brightly lit, and Sun Wuming's 1.86-meter tall man was shivering in a corner. And Gwen, just like the big devil, moved a single sofa with a sneer and started the trial. Okay, Sun Wuming, I didn't expect you to hide a big one. Gwen, listen to me. Sun Wuming squeezed out a smile. Please call me classmate Stacy. Gwen sat on the single sofa, her tight battle suit perfectly outlining her graceful curves. 2 slender long legs overlapped, short blonde hair hanging down, and at the age of 17, she had the demeanor of a royal sister. Watching Sun Wuming really wanted to give a leather whip, so that it would look more harmonious. Before you explain, student Sun Wuming, let's settle the score first. How dare you hit me, don't you, and humiliate me with one hand? Gwen bared her small canine teeth, with a vicious expression. I'd like to hear your explanation. Sun Wuming immediately looked away, and ran behind Gwen like a dog's leg to relax her muscles and activate her blood, but Gwen was not rejected. Fighted a lizard man, chased Sun Wuming for a long distance, and fought again. Although Gwen is not very tired, it is always comfortable to press. While enjoying the massage, Gwen listened to Sun Wuming's sophistry. Last time, I also saw that your fighting skills were too poor, and I wanted to make you suffer a little setback. That night was purely accidental. I didn't expect to appear in front of you, but the phone rang suddenly. Sun Wuming was very sincere, and Gwen reluctantly forgave him. Her fighting skills are indeed too poor, and she is fighting entirely by virtue of her ability. But, Gwen raised her eyebrows, so you knew my identity the first time? When did you find out? Thinking back to when I asked Sun Wuming about his impression of Spider-Woman, he said a lot of bad things. Could it be that you are deliberately angry with yourself? This bad guy. Gwen glared at Sun Wuming viciously, but without any lethality. The day you had a fever. Sun Wuming confessed frankly, while controlling his hands not to draw down. At that time, I already sensed that the chi on your body had changed. Angry? Gwen became curious. Don't press it, tell me what chi is. Gwen blushed and slapped away the big hands that had slid to the edge of the collarbone. Why are you so dishonest today? This cannot be blamed on Sun Wuming, mainly because her battle suit is too attractive. Usually, Gwen's charm value is 100, so after wearing a battle suit, the charm value will directly explode. Chi is the most fundamental energy in living organisms, from tigers and lions to small ants and insects. Each creature has its own unique chi, and the school I practice is Guosian style. Perceiving other people's chi is just an additional ability. Others have methods like breath shielding. As he said that, Sun Wuming let out a little breath, and Gwen's spider telepathy immediately detected the crisis, and his body tensed up. Okay, Wuming Wu, it turned out that you were the one who teased me last time. Gwen immediately thought of the scene when she went shopping with Sun Wuming and came home that day. At that time, Wuming teased her that she should shave her hair. That's too bad. Sun Wuming smiled awkwardly. He just wanted to be a demonstration, but Gwen turned over his old account again, so he had to change the subject quickly. The chi in your body is already very strong now, but you can't feel it, and you can't apply it. Moreover, your physical fitness is still in the stage of rapid growth. I will teach you how to use it when it is fully developed. That way it will get twice the result with half the effort. Then can I fly like you? Gwen was really interested. Definitely, you can even do that. Sun Wuming's fingers lit up, and a small wave of qigong shot out, blasting the cups on the coffee table into powder. Gwen's eyes lit up. That's so cool. Sun Wuming remembered that Spider-Man's limit strength should be around 25 tons. It is not known whether Gwen can reach this level, but as long as it exceeds 20 tons, it will enter the later stage of growth, and then the practice of Gwen Chi can be taught. Next, Gwen asked Sun Wuming many more questions. He said everything he could say. You passed the test, but you will never let it go if you have kept it from me for so long. Didn't you keep it from me when you became Spider-Woman? Sun Wuming beeped softly. Dare to talk back? Gwen put her hands on her hips and snorted. I just haven't figured out how to tell you. I didn't expect you to surprise me first. Can the two be the same? Sun Wuming nodded again and again, indicating that you are right. Just in the heart. Forget it, let this girl be arrogant for a while, and let her experience it when she turns 18. What a real, talk back. Gwen, how on earth did you find me? Seeing that Gwen calmed down, Sun Wuming also asked the question that had puzzled him all night. Hee hee. The girl sneered contemptuously. Although I haven't seen your clothes, I wash your underwear. Few people use that brand of laundry detergent. Coupled with the last movement of you touching my head, that look can't fool me. Some like to run out of the eyes even if they cover their mouths and change their appearance. Episode 30. Could it be because of you, old man? Sun Wuming was silent. He finally realized that the person who understands him best in this world is not himself, but the girl in front of him. Looking at the time, Gwen was afraid that the fact that she had sneaked out would be exposed, so she was about to slip away. Sun Wuming asked sensibly, shall I see you off? Gwen's eyes lit up. She hugged Sun Wuming's arm and asked affectionately, fly me home. I haven't tried flight yet. Although relying on cobweb, Gwen can achieve a state similar to flight, but it is completely different from flying freely. Naturally, Sun Wuming would not refuse her request. When Gwen put on the headgear again, Sun Wuming put one arm around the girl's slender legs, and the other around her neck. Putting his head on Sun Wuming's chest, he could feel the strong heartbeat of the other party. Gwen smiled. After carrying Gwen around New York City, Sun Wuming flew to Gwen's bedroom window. Looking at the young man's handsome face, Gwen suddenly felt an impulse. Climbing into the bedroom along the window, she beckoned. Sun Wuming stepped forward suspiciously. What's wrong? Without speaking, Gwen wrapped her arms around his neck. Her soft cherry lips tightened. Well, after a brief moment of stupefaction, Sun Wuming also responded enthusiastically. Gwyneth at the moment is extremely excited, or jumping for joy. In the past, she was also worried that if the identity of Spider-Woman was revealed, it would bring trouble to her family and Wuming, and even be regarded as a monster. She even thought about hiding this secret for a lifetime, making Spider-Woman and Gwen Stacy two separate existences. In this way, there will be no hidden dangers. But tonight's Wuming really brought her a big surprise. It turns out that I'm not the only one who is special. The same to you. This strange tacit understanding made her extremely excited, so she boldly offered her first kiss. No, not yet. With reddened earlobes, Gwen pushed away Sun Wuming's mischievous hands. Mom said, girls should know how to protect themselves. Student Sun Wuming, you haven't passed my test yet. After calming down her heartbeat, the girl pushed away the resentful Sun Wuming and closed the window. Finally, he winked playfully. Seeing Sun Wuming, who had no meat tonight, he waved helplessly, mouthed good night, and flew away from Gwen's bedroom. Gwen breathed a sigh of relief until Sun Wuming was out of sight. Then he smiled and tiptoed into the bathroom. Dad, Mom, am I going to school? In the early morning of the next day, Gwen said hello and left the house with breakfast made for Sun Wuming. Honey, do you think your daughter is very happy today? George said with some uncertainty. Definitely found out. The corners of my mouth have not been put down all morning. Helen rolled her eyes, thinking she was blind. Can't see such an obvious change? It should be related to Wuming's child, so don't worry about it. Isn't it a good thing that Gwen is happy? What other reason could a teenage girl be so happy about? Could it be because of you, old man? Mr. George choked. He wanted to discuss Gwen's safety with Helen, but Helen interrupted him and changed the topic to work. You came back so late yesterday. Did you find the lizard monster? No, not at all. George sighed, dealing with the scene of the accident, treating the wounded, and being harassed by various media. These things have made him extremely busy, and the manpower sent to search for the lizard monster is pitifully small. At least so far, no lizard monsters have been found along the Hudson River, but George was sure the guy couldn't have drowned in the water. During the short fight, he could see that the lizard monster was intelligent, but seemed to be suppressed by bloodthirsty instinct. Such an opponent is the most difficult to deal with, and Helen was very dissatisfied with this result. With such a monster in the city, I am a little worried about Gwen's safety. The newspapers are saying that the police are holding back Spider-Woman. George, stop targeting Spider-Woman. She is the hero of the city. Helen is a housewife and rarely goes out every day, but Gwen has to go to school every day and sometimes participates in activities. With such a terrifying monster wandering around the city, it must be a lie to say that you are not worried. Nonsense. If it wasn't for the Saiyan who suddenly appeared and scared the lizard monster away, it would have been shot dead by the police long ago. George drank the rest of the milk angrily. As for Spider-Woman, I'm not targeting her. I just hate any free people who break social order. After speaking, he changed into his police uniform and went to work, desperate to save face. Helen muttered softly and took out today's latest newspaper. On the cover, there are 3 photos of lizard monster, Spider-Woman, and Saiyan. Big headlines are clearly visible. A gathering of freaks.